To crack CAT, you need a lot of practice, and you can practice by taking Krako's free mock. Just Google search Krako free CAT mock. Follow the link to get the free mock. We have put in a free mock with the latest pattern and with detailed solutions. Hi friends, welcome to Krako's video series. I'm Sayali Kale. I'm one of the co-founders of Krako and an alumna of IIMA Alumni. In today's video, we'll discuss can a below average student get crack CAT and get into one of the top MBA colleges? So this question we come across a lot whenever we are dealing with students. Many students are hesitant to even start preparation because they feel that CAT is not for them. They feel kind of out of league when it comes to CAT preparation. So this video basically is to address all the fears and questions related to whether or not a below average student can crack CAT, whether they have a realistic chance there. So let me first actually start with what you have to expect in CAT. So what exactly is CAT about, and what does it test, and what are in what ways what is being tested, and what should one expect going into starting to prepare for CAT and while going into the CAT exam. So first of all, it is an aptitude based test. There is definitely an element where if you're smarter, you will do better as compared to somebody who has there is an element of aptitude testing definitely in it. There is no denying it. There is no beating around this. Some people will find it easier to give CAT, some people will find it harder, will find it more difficult to answer questions, some people will find it easier to answer questions. So there is a element of aptitude testing in it. But, and this is a huge, this to the above point, this is also something that you can improve in a lot. This is not entirely aptitude based. For example, improvement is definitely possible. So think of it in this way. If you are smarter, you will find 60% of CAT easy to do. 40% will still be hard for you even if you are like very smart. That's because 40% of it will require prior knowledge of so if your aptitude helps you, 60% will be within reach. Things you can solve. Maybe you might not be able to solve them fast, speed would be another thing, but things that are solvable for people based just entirely on aptitude and the fact that they did 10th standard maths and English. So this is 60% of CAT will be within reach. 40% will still be harder, basically because you do not know formulas, theorems, concepts, or you have just forgotten them because if you are 21, the chance that you will remember what you studied as a 15-year-old or earlier, there is a chance that you would not remember that. So theorems, formulas, concepts, if you don't know them, 40% of CAT would be difficult for you. Even if you do know, even in other subjects like verbal ability, etc., there are definitely, if somebody has given some amount of practice of reading comprehension, they at least know how to tackle an RC. If you have done no effort, 40% of CAT would be just beyond you. So aptitude will help you only so far. Now, if you are not very smart, not in like, if you give without any preparation, if you would struggle to even reach 60%, even then, if your effort is not based entirely on aptitude, if this is based on hard work, and preparation, you can solve 80% of the paper. And 20%, even if you are not the smartest person, 20% may be out of your league. Some CAT questions might be genuinely too difficult for you to solve. But if you are able to solve 80% of CAT, that is more than enough. In fact, 70% of the CAT, if you can solve with good accuracy, that is more than enough to get you 95 percentile in each section. So that is definitely what, if you're trying to crack CAT, even if you're a below average student, if you put in the hard work, you can solve 80% of the CAT paper, and that is more than enough to get more than 95 percentile in all sections. So always keep this in mind that while aptitude might help you crack CAT, it is definitely not enough, and hard work is definitely enough for every student to crack CAT. This is not entirely a skill-based exam. True, it is not something like your engineering exams or your commerce exams or anything like that, where you have to study an entire year and you are tested on like write 10 reasons why this is this, or 10 objectives of XYZ. This is definitely not a subjective exam like that, where preparation plays a much bigger role. Here preparation, without preparation also some people can do occasionally in the exam, but preparation can help you a lot. Even if you are not the greatest, even if you don't have a greatest start to your preparation process, remember that going from I know a lot of students who have gone from 80 percentile to 95 percentile. So this is definitely not a aptitude based test at all, because if it was just an aptitude based test, this kind of an improvement would not have been possible at all. This is definitely based on your hard work and skills as well. So get it out of your mind that if you are starting off and you are at 60 percentile, cracking CAT is just beyond you. It is not. It depends entirely on how much hard work you put in. If you put in if you make sure that you go through every single concept, for every single topic, that you practice questions from that topic, if you have a strategy in place on how you are going to tackle CAT, if you have a timetable in place, if you put in 3 hours every single day, then this is not beyond you, definitely not beyond you. This is, I would say this is not an aptitude based test alone, this is also a hard work based test. Those who work hard actually do end up doing much better than those who are just smarter. So make sure that you get it out of your mind that CAT is beyond you. It's not. It is within the reach of every student who has cleared 10th standard exam. So get it in your mind that this is definitely within your reach. Now I'll get to the concepts of what is actually tested. So a lot of students get into this mindset that they are a below average student based on how they have been tested till now. So you have gone through your 10th, 12th, say you did engineering or commerce or arts. Now at all of these points, what was essentially tested? At all of these points, your memory was tested. Your ability to work hard was definitely tested. Your sincerity was tested. But also what was tested was your availability of resources, availability of good educational resources. What was also tested was how much support you got from your family. And what was also tested is your ability to mug up things. That is partly covered by memory, but this is much more than just memory. This is not retention, this is more a ability to just lug it out. All of these things were tested in 10th, 12th and your undergrad exams. And these are important life skills to have. The ability to just accept responsibility, sit down and sit for hours together and put in the hard work. This is definitely an important skill. But this is not necessarily the skills that will be tested in CAT. In CAT, what is actually tested is your quantitative skills. Okay. Your comprehension skills. Your logical reasoning skills. Now all of these are very different from what was tested till now. So if you did poorly in your 10th, 12th and engineering, commerce and arts, don't get disheartened, because the skill set that is going to be asked out of you in your CAT exam is very different from the skill set that has been asked of you from these exams. These exams are not only intensive in the terms of amount of things that you have to remember, but they are also intensive in the way that you need like a good year, 1 year of complete dedicated hard work to crack any of these bigger exams. Even in undergrad, the ones who topped undergrad exams would generally be the guys who attended every day or worked hard every day instead of working hard only the day before the exam. But CAT is slightly different. You don't need an entire year. 6 months might be enough, 4 months might be enough, depending on where you start off from. But again, it requires dedicated work. So hard work is definitely needed. So hard work plus dedication is definitely needed even in this. But a lot of things that were needed in 10th, 12th and engineering or your undergrad are no longer needed for cracking CAT. It is a much less complicated hurdle to overcome as compared to all of these things. And remember that it is going to test different skills. So if you were somebody who was always good at quant skills or had good comprehension skills but could not actually concentrate and sit for hours together and do well in 10th, 12th or undergrad, that does not mean that you won't do well in CAT. Again, in undergrad, it is so difficult to judge the potential of a student because you might not have done well in your undergrad just based on the fact that you are not you were not suited for it. If you were suited for commerce and went into engineering, or vice versa, you might not have done well in your undergrad. So do not let that be a mental hurdle for you where you think that I didn't do well in my 10th, 12th and undergrad, that means I won't do well in CAT. These two things are unrelated. The only relation between them is that both test your ability to work hard and how dedicated you are. This would require, cracking CAT require 3 hours a day. 10th, 12th and undergrad require much more than that. So if you are able to give 3 hours a day, you can crack CAT, irrespective of what your 10th, 12th and undergrad were. So remember that the skills that are being tested in CAT are different, and you have to make sure that you do well given this test. So if you have these skills, you will do well irrespective of how much your undergrad score was. You will get a good CAT score. That has there is only a weak correlation between how well you did in your undergrad and how well you will do in CAT. So keep that out of your mind that you are a below average student in your college, because that has very little to do with how well you will do in CAT. Now that you have some understanding of what the skills are, what is required to crack CAT, now let's take a look at some things that we often get in terms of questions from students, that they are weak in a particular section, and many students feel that okay, I'm weak in a particular section, there's no point really in me trying to crack CAT because kind of the scales are against my favor. For example, a lot of students are, say, from a non-engineering background. So students from non-engineering background feel that they are weak in quant and they do not have a fair chance of cracking CAT because they are weak in quant, or those who are weak in verbal. A lot of students who are, say, from non-English medium feel they do not have a fair chance in CAT because they are weak in verbal, and they won't do well as compared to their peers who have gone to an English medium school. There are those who are weak in DILR, and there are many who actually are hopelessly scared of this topic. There are many students I know who feel that they can't even, when they open the DILR section, they are not even confident of solving a single side. So confidence is a big issue over here. So I'll try to address each of these sections of whenever somebody says that I'm weak in quant, I'm not from an engineering background, I don't even know where to begin. So the basic thing you have to remember is that the quant that is asked in CAT is not of an engineering level. There is no relation between you being an engineer and you doing well in CAT, in quant. The only relation really is the fact is that engineers have maths in their curriculum for the first year, which means that for at least one more year beyond 12th, they have been in touch with maths. Actually, they have it in the second year also. So they have been in touch with mathematics as a subject for 2 more years than commerce level students have. But the quant that is asked in CAT is not engineering mathematics. I don't even remember engineering mathematics, like the different complex integral equations, etc. That is not required. What is actually required is your 10th level mathematics, not even 12th level mathematics. You need 10th standard mathematics to clear CAT. And a huge amount of focus within CAT quant is on arithmetic and algebra, skills that you learn before by 10th standard. So whether you did engineering or you're from a non-engineering background does not make any difference. The difference that comes is basically from the fact that you were in touch, if you're an engineering student, you were in touch with maths for a longer period of time. So it has been fewer years since you like completely gave up doing mathematical problems. Because of that, you have more confidence in you whenever you see a maths problem. So that confidence, that familiarity is the only advantage that engineering students have over non-engineering students. This is so easy to address. This is not really a problem. The only thing that you can do to bridge this gap is basically practice. This would basically only translate that you have to give 1 more hour of, this essentially means that you have to give 1 more hour of quant practice every day. That is all. That alone can help you bridge the gap between you and an engineering student within like 2 months. That is the only difference. A lack of confidence and lack of familiarity, there is only one way you can address it: practice. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. So don't give this excuse that I'm from a non-engineering background, I can't get into top institutes, or I can't crack CAT because of that. There are many students who get into IIMs A, B, C from a non-engineering background. If they can get in, so can you. And in fact, if you go to the interview stage, your non-engineering background is going to be a huge advantage to you, because the interview panels are looking for diverse backgrounds. They are not looking to fill the colleges up with only engineers. So remove this from your head that if I come from a non-engineering background, I don't have a fair chance at cracking CAT. You do. You just have to spend some more time catching up on quant. If you spend 2 months, 1 hour a day for 2 months just like dedicated to quant, going through the fundamentals again, getting into the this of solving. If you start solving, you get into the flow of solving, then you get the confidence and you get the level of familiarity that okay, I can tackle a problem if it comes my way. That is the only difference between you and an engineering student. There is no difference in capability, there is no difference in aptitude when it comes to an engineering student and a non-engineering student. There is only a difference in confidence. And the only way you can address that problem is through practice. So please practice quant, and there is no real issue. There is no way that should stop you from cracking CAT. Now, those who are weak in VARC, this might come from the fact that you are from a non-English medium school, or you were from a smaller town where reading English books was not a common feature, or there are many students who say that I never read an English book until I came into engineering college. And for those guys, answering reading comprehension is like such a novel idea. This is the first time they are kind of experiencing that. And because of that, because it's not something that they are used to, they feel that this is way beyond their league. Now, I would suggest that this has nothing to do with your English skills. What is being tested is not your English skills. The RC section, almost actually the entire VARC section tests only one skill, which is your comprehension skills. I actually had one of the guys who used to work here with us. When he joined us, he had scored 70 percentile in verbal, and he came from a Hindi medium school, and he felt very underconfident in CAT. And whenever he used to go to attempt an RC, whenever he used to see big words or words he was not familiar with, he would end up making a mistake. And the reason why he made the mistake was because he felt that he does not know the word, so he does not know the answer, and he would go against his own instinct about what he thinks was the right answer to give some other answer based on the fact that if he doesn't know the word in the given option, maybe it's the right answer. Now, this is I feel the source of all problems when it comes to weak VARC. VARC is not about your English skills. The last time CAT checked your English skills was a very long time ago. Since then, they have removed all vocabulary from CAT. They have removed all grammar from CAT. So, they are not testing your vocabulary skills or English skills at all. They are only testing your comprehension skills. And comprehension skills are very similar to thinking ability. They are similar to like aptitude skills. They are very similar to logical reasoning skills. So if you do well in logical reasoning, if you do well in quant, there is no reason why you should do poorly in comprehension skills. Just go with your understanding of the passage, you will do better. Now this guy, when we used to tell him that just forget that you are from a non-English medium school, just focus on what you understand from the passage. Focus on your overall understanding of the passage. We asked him to focus more on VARC because he was good in quant, he was good in DILR, but just weak in this particular section. And because of that, he used to, what we asked him to do was every single day, whenever he reads an RC, he has to write down the paragraph summary for each point. Whenever he reads an article, he should write down a main point for each paragraph he is reading. And he did that work. Towards like the last month before CAT, he just kept giving verbal sectionals. So you can't give a lot of marks, but you can take a sectional again and again. So if different multiple sectionals of the same topic as such. So if you're weak in any particular section, you can focus on that particular section by taking sectionals. So he did that. He did the active reading part, he did the sectionals work, and he essentially put in a lot of hard work towards improving his VARC ability. As we told him that focus on your comprehension skills, just focus on what you understand of the passage. If you don't understand a few words of the passage, ignore them. Understand what else is given in the passage, what makes sense to you, focus on that. And he scored more than 97 percentile in CAT. He got more than 99.7 percentile in CAT overall, with 97 percentile in verbal VARC. So this is not about your English skills, because if somebody from like a Hindi medium can do it, then any medium from like any vernacular medium guy can do it. This is not a test of your English skills, this is a test of your comprehension skills. And comprehension skills also is a test of your level of dedication and hard work. Many students think that this is not something that you can improve with hard work, but this is actually the exact opposite is true. The more articles you read, the more RCs you solve, the more tests you take, the more books you read, the better you will get at this. So you have to actively read. The minute you decide that I'm going to give a sincere attempt at CAT, you have to start reading. There is no escaping that. But whether you start reading, whether you are a novice to it or you have been reading for ages, it essentially boils down to how consistent you are in your efforts. If you read every day, if you make sure that you actively read every day, then you will definitely be able to crack CAT. Just this is if you have to build your comprehension skills, it is possible to build your comprehension skills within 4 months, within 3 months before CAT. So make sure that you don't let this hamper you from trying your best for CAT. Now it comes to weak DILR. Now these I feel that a lot of students feel that there are days when they can do well in DILR, and then there are days where they can't solve a single set in DILR. It comes across as a giant gamble, where a lot of variability in your score comes from your variability in your DILR score. And I've seen this with a lot of students where the percentile fluctuates between 70 percentile, 90 percentile, 95 percentile, then suddenly 60 percentile in DILR. So I feel in DILR, what is happening is that students are leaving a lot to chance. If you leave everything to chance, that okay, I'll read the set on CAT day and something like some inspiration will strike me about how to solve this set. If you leave it to that, then you'll have a high level of variability in your scores. If you don't leave it to chance, if you have some plan or strategy in mind, okay, if this kind of a question comes, I'll represent this information in this way. If this kind of a question comes, I'll represent this information in this way. So you might not be able to solve every set, but essentially you have to solve 5 sets out of 8. And if you have a strategy in place, if you have a plan in place for every kind of set that comes, then the variability will disappear. The variability essentially comes from the fact that you wait for inspiration to strike you at the time of giving test. That's essentially not having a plan at all. And going into essentially what is a battle without a plan is a recipe for failure. If you have weak DILR, that means you do not have a strategy in place. If you work hard, if you have a plan in place, then you will do well at DILR. This is not a, there are ways in which you can reduce the variability of score in DILR. Just remember, the way we teach DILR is, for every set in DILR, we try to go through the sets that have come, the types of sets that have come. So it's like say arrangement, say team selection, and for each type of set, we try to explain how you can represent the information. And the reason why that is important is that it gets you started for solving the set. Once you get started, then you can go on and finish the set. If you don't know where to get started, if you're waiting for inspiration to strike that, okay, maybe this is how I solve the set, then you will get stuck. You will get badly stuck. So if you are weak in DILR, you need to focus on your strategy and plan for each single type of DILR set. We have covered almost every single DILR that has type that has come in CAT in recent years, in old CATs, everything. So we have covered all of those, and we have said, okay, if you get a DILR like this, you have to represent the information in that way. See, going from that to representation of information is just manual work. If you know what the right representation format is, and you remember that, it's starting off and solving 60% of the set is just almost manual work. Then maybe you might get stuck, maybe you need some more reasoning or deduction to get to 100%. But if you are getting off to a good start, the chance that you will end up solving the set is a pretty high one. And you need to remember that to get 97 percentile onwards, for 95 percentile you need 4 sets, right? For 97 percentile you need 5 sets, right? So if that is the required level of required cutoff, you just need to get need to focus on getting some sets right, not all sets right. So weak DILR, I feel, is just something that you can easily address with hard work and with strategy. So if you have the right guidance, this is something that you can easily address. Now that if you're weak in any of the sections, this should definitely not stop you from attempting CAT. This is not it might not seem to you that it's fair that some students have an advantage. Like for example, engineering students are at an advantage at the start, or English medium students are at an advantage at the start, or say those who went to good schools and had reading lists or were reading from their school days, they are at an advantage. There is no fact denying it, but it doesn't matter where you start the race, it matters where you end the race. So if you recognize that they're at an advantage, they are ahead of you, and if you account for it in your practice, if you account for it in how much hard work and effort you put into it, if you say that if somebody's, a lot of my peers are already ahead of me, I need to put in more time today so that I can catch up. If you have that realistic targets in mind, then there won't be any gap between you, say 1 month before CAT or 2 months before CAT. But if you just let that paralyze you from actually acting, if you just say that, okay, I'm weak in this section and it's not fair that somebody is at an advantage over me, then it will, if it prevents you from acting and trying to be better, trying to improve and trying to catch up, then you will always be behind. So just remember that even if somebody is starting off at an advantage, it does not matter. It just means that you have to put in more effort today, and you will catch up. And then if you keep those sustained efforts on, then you will go ahead also. So whether you are weak in a section, whether you have been a average student or a below average student, that should not stop you from putting in the efforts, because essentially this is a question of how much efforts you can put in consistently till CAT. Another thing that a lot of students ask us is, I have poor academic scores, is it even worth it for me to try to crack CAT? A lot of students say that, okay, my 10th this is something that I've come across a lot on Facebook, where instead of working hard or solving questions, most of the times then they are using Facebook and using groups for CAT and CAT preparation. Instead of answering questions, what they are generally doing is saying that this is my 10th score, this is my 12th score, this is my undergrad score. Where do you think I'll end up? What chance do I have when it comes to cracking CAT? This is essentially such a waste of time. Your 10th, 12th and undergrad are constant. These are not going to change. So these are constants as far as your end goal is concerned. These are not going to change at all from now till CAT. What is going to change is your CAT score. This is the variable part. Only this part you can control or have any influence over. You can't change your 10th, 12th and undergrad score. You can only change your CAT score. Now your entire this should be that I should make my CAT score as high as possible so that I have a realistic chance of getting into a top tier institute. So I will tell you the type of institutes you can get into based on based on your CAT score. At the very top of the list is basically CLK, IMC, LK have very low weightage for academic scores. So with poor academic scores also you can get into IMC LK. Now below that you have MDI and XLRI. Again, not a whole lot of weightage for CAT scores, not a whole lot of, this is not on CAT scores, this is on exact score, but low weightage for your academic scores. Below that you have your new IIMs and baby IIMs. So I'll put them on different lists. And then there are the top tier 2 institutes. Now if you spend your time asking people where you will end up, you will mostly end up over here. If you instead spend your time solving questions, learning concepts, improving your abilities, improving your comprehension skills, improving your logical reasoning skills, improving your arithmetic skills, working on improving your CAT score, essentially, you can end up here. Now this is a huge difference between all of these levels. Now your entire ability, entire focus for the next few months should be that I should reach here or here, and each of these levels depends on how much time and effort you put. You put in no effort, you end up here. You put in some effort, you end up here. You put in some more effort, you end up here. If you put in the consistent effort for the next 4 months, you end up here. So this depends entirely on your CAT score. So stop obsessing about your poor academic scores. That is not going to help you at all. What is going to help you is if you study for your CAT exam. If you get a good CAT score, you will get into a good institute, period. If you get a poor CAT score, you will end up at a poor institute. Your 10th, 12th and undergrad are things you cannot change. What you can change, you should. You have the responsibility that you should give the best attempt that you can at CAT 2019. If you don't work on that, if you instead focus on things that you cannot change, if you focus on the past instead of focusing on the future, you will end up without a good future. If you focus on what matters at this point of time, and the only thing that matters at this point of time is a good CAT score, you will do well in CAT, you will do well in your admissions at admissions time. So just focus on what really matters. What really matters is CAT 2019, not things that you can't change. So just focus on that. So this is all I'd like to say to students who are of the opinion that either CAT is beyond them or they are not a good student and they'd be wasting their time with CAT. If you can work hard, if you can put in 2 hours, 3 hours every single day, then CAT is not beyond you. If you are weak in a section, all of that can be addressed. If you have not actually stood out as a student till now, just remember that skills tested by CAT are different from the skills tested by 10th, 12th and undergrad. So even if you weren't a stellar student in school, if you weren't a stellar student in college, that does not mean that you do not have a good chance at CAT. If you have poor undergrad scores, if you have poor 10th, 12th scores, this does not mean that you are eliminated from the race. It does not. It depends entirely on how well you score in your CAT exam. So just remember all of these things, and remember the only thing that you can actually control is your how well prepared you are for CAT 2019. If you focus on that and forget everything else, let all the doubts go back and recede into the background and just focus on what matters now. It won't matter what has happened in the past. If just you focus on your path ahead, you do well. So just focus on that. I know a lot of students who are college toppers who did not go to top IIMs. I know students who are essentially in the middle of who went to IIMs ABC. So it does not matter whether you are an average student, below average student. What matters is whether you are ready to put in the effort. If you are ready to put in the effort, then you can crack CAT. That's the simple this of it. Thank you for tuning in.